tonight on the Mac to the Future livecast, or actually it's Mac to the Future Go livecast. I mess that up every single week. I don't know what's wrong with me. There's a major security flaw for most of the major U.S. carriers. The Palm is back, or is it? Infowars gets taken down, and should Apple switch away from the Lightning connector? Tonight, all on the Mac to the Future Go livecast. And tonight, hey, it is a good night. It is Wednesday, August 8th, and we are here in the Mac to the Future Go Facebook room and my own personal thing, and I've got all kinds of stuff going on. I'm so excited to be here tonight. It is the Mac to the Future Go livecast. I don't know why I'm rambling like a maniac, but it's not just me tonight. I managed to coerce another person to join me, and that would be Mr. David Ginsburg. How are you tonight, sir?
I am doing great. Great to be here.
Really?
You, yes.
You sure? You sure about that?
I know. The last minute ask, you have me come in here, and I'm going to be recording In Touch with iOS in another hour, so I'm figure back to back.
So that's like your main podcast.
Yes, it is.
And
Melissa Davis, the Mac Mommy.
I haven't seen Melissa now in over a year, because she was there at the MacStock for 2016. Oh, so it's been 2 years. She wasn't there last year, and she wasn't there this year, so she's slacking.
Yeah. Well,
what's wrong with her? He should be there. Yeah, I don't know. So, what have you been up to? I know you're doing your podcast later tonight. What else is going on?
Just keeping busy. Always busy at work. Always doing all kinds of fun stuff with technology. Keeping the computers running. And I did come across last week a battery that it exploded almost. It was like
that far away?
It was that far away. The laptop was bulging at the wrist rest at the Dell, of course.
Wow, of course.
So
because that never happens with Apple laptops.
No, not at all. That doesn't happen either. So I flipped it over and I start unscrewing in the bottom case of it, and it just goes pop.
Wow.
As soon as it's off, you look at the battery, it's like you could see the cells. It just bulged. I mean, it was crazy.
That's not good.
So, but at least I was able to get the battery swapped. They sent me a new one. But then the funny thing is, I should send you pictures. Dell sends this battery recycle kit because, of course, to be safe, because they know they're wrong by having this type of battery that happens like this. It literally is a canister like this big, with a plastic bag and these wood chips of some sort that I had to put the battery in the plastic bag. I throw it in the can,
right?
Put all these chips in there, and then I had to have a hammer to close the lid to keep it sealed in the canister. And of course, it's got everything all over the box saying, no, you cannot put this on an aircraft at all. So, gotta go use ground.
The only thing that would have made all that worse would have been if there had been like lots of plastic straws, because that's a thing these days.
Yeah.
Actually, before we get started, for people who follow me with Guy's Daily Drive and of course the mymac.com podcast, I'd mentioned that I had lost my Apple Watch. Well, I'm here to say Apple Watch recovered finally. Yeah. And of course it was everyone's fault except my own, because it had migrated to the bottom of this like bag that I keep my iPad and a few other things in. And so even though I was the one that put it in that bag, it's still everyone's fault except my own that I couldn't find it. Yeah. And also, speaking of screw-ups, I apologize for the abrupt end to last week's show, and that there was no follow-up. And the reason why there was no follow-up is because it didn't record due to some bad settings that was everyone's fault except mine. Everyone's fault.
I mean, we got to enjoy the last part of the show, but no one else got to see it,
nobody else got to see. And honestly, there was some really you and I were having this great discussion that nobody else got to see because it wasn't recorded and it wasn't streaming. And it really kind of hacked me off.
People could see it on YouTube, so I threw it out there. So.
And we've got some people watching. I don't know if we have any comments because Facebook is not is not doing comments live. So that's another fun thing. I don't know why Facebook makes it so hard to monitor comments when you're live casting. And and there is, of course, the possibility that it could be my fault, but I'm not sure what else I could be doing that would make that much of a difference. Is there, let's see, if I click to enlarge.
Those two people in the room.
All right, well, I'm going to leave this up here, and if you're commenting over in whatchamajigger, on my personal page there. I am really having trouble communicating today. I think I'm actually having a stroke. I can't think of any other reason why I'm having so many problems tonight. All right, but it didn't record due to some bad settings that I did. So basically, Mimo Live was like, "Oh, you want to record this? Great. What? You want to send it where? No, you can't send it there because it doesn't exist. You fool! You fool!" So that's why there was no actual end to the show last week, and it was definitely my fault, and I apologize. Now, getting off of the blame guy for everything train, and it's okay because I was the one doing that. We do have some stories tonight, Dave. We do. Number one, these are a couple things that I saw that kind of caught my eye. There has been a major security flaw announced for customers of Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, and Sprint. So all the major U.S. carriers. This is a story from Engadget. Let me go ahead and put that up there on the screen. There we go. Story from Engadget says big time vulnerability on phones sold by major U.S. carriers and probably others as well that might exploit a loophole for data, emails, and text messages. Now, the report did not say which phones or what OSs were involved, but just based on the way it was worded, I'm pretty much sure that it's not iOS. And do you know why that is?
Android is very vulnerable.
It is, but there was a better reason why I don't believe that iOS or iPhone or Apple were involved. And that's because the lead into the story didn't mention any of those things. Now, if the iPhone or iOS had been vulnerable due to whatever this is, and you can go to the story that's here to read, and there's not really that much information on it yet. I'm sure it's going to be a bigger story as time goes on. But if the iPhone or Apple had been involved, or iOS had been involved with any of this, the lead wouldn't have said U.S. carriers have a security flaw. It would have said Apple's iPhone is vulnerable to this attack or whatever it was. Apple would have been the lead in to the story as compared to just a generic, carriers have an issue kind of story.
They don't put Apple in the story. They're not going to get as many clicks,
right?
Because we'll see that. Oh, wait, Apple click. Oh, that's got to be something vulnerable. So they obviously didn't have the sustained proof that it was Apple, but it was generally with all the carriers that are out there. So.
Yeah, the story right now is all the U.S. carriers, and I'm guessing that just from the nature of this, that it's all the Android phones up to probably part of the problem is all the phones that the carriers sell that are Android based. There's like no uniformity as far as what OS these phones are running. So, up until it wasn't that long ago, they were still selling or giving away these super cheap phones that were still on like, I can't think of what Cupcake or whatever it is, Android version 2 and 4 and 5.
They're all still being used.
In the meantime, I believe they're just getting ready to release 9 or 9.1 or 8.
Out.
Which one is it?
It's called it's 9. It's called Pi.
Apple Pie. I get it.
Android Pie. Oh.
Android Pie. So you were telling me that there was some other security issue?
Yeah, actually, it was a Apple supplier. It's TSMC. They're recovering from a debilitating computer virus. Ooh, it's
debilitating.
It's a Taiwanese semiconductor manufacturing company is in a recovered debilitating computer virus that it hit all its fabrication tools this last Friday. This story was on Monday the 6th. And they had said 80% of the affected tools have been restored, but the shipments may have reduced due to this virus. So basically what happened was somebody was updating the software on all of their production machines.
Wonder what OS that was running.
Apparently it had a virus on it, so it shut everything down. So there was a little bit of a concern that it was going to affect Apple's production, because it is one of the primary chips that are the iPhone. Don't
they have a contract to make Apple's A10 and A11 chips?
A11, A12, yep. It says it did not indicate any customers were affected, but such a virus could potentially slow Apple's output of new devices. But I tend to doubt that. There's a lot in their market right now.
And not only that, but we're still, I don't know. I don't believe Apple has made any kind of announcement as far as, having an event to tell us when the next phone is coming out.
No event, but a lot of rumors talking about 3 new models are coming out, all that stuff. But they're saying
I'll believe it when I see it.
Hey, that's why I'm on my upgrade plan. So when it comes to the 12th month, I can go in the app and say, "Hey, here's my iPhone 10. I'm ready for the next one." But the last update says that they're expected to fill all the orders on time for Apple, so there appears to be no delay. So again, a little sensationalized because it was a security flaw.
Shocker.
And it involved Apple.
Okay. Well, then why don't we go on over to the next story? This one kind of cracked me up. The Palm is back. Did you hear about this, David?
The Palm?
Palm. The Palm is back.
From 30 years ago? 20 years ago?
Yeah. No, it's actually not back. HP bought Palm to try and sell HP's very short-lived web OS devices that they ended up like basically giving away in a fire sale just to get rid of the hardware. They ended up selling Palm to LG, which uses WebOS for their TV sets, and apparently it's good enough for that because LG is a pretty good manufacturer of television sets. Somehow, a different Chinese manufacturer called TCL, which is not a premium television. I mean, they do sell TVs. I have seen their TV sets in stores, and they're so cheap that they make me wonder that, it's like, hey, you can get a 4K TCL TV set, 55 inches for $19.95 and a box of General Mills cereal. It's like, yeah, that can't be a really, really good TV set there. So anyway, they've created an Android 8.1 based smartphone that they're tentatively calling the PVG 100. The phone in question, according to FCC filings, doesn't actually run WebOS, so it's Palm in name only, which kind of begs the question, why even bother? However, it does lend itself to some comedic value. So, hey, why not? I don't understand why you would resurrect a brand name like Palm to just sell another Android phone. I mean, what's the point?
I don't get it. I just don't get it. I mean, the way Android's going right now, I just what's Palm going to do them any good? The
name doesn't. I mean, okay,
it's name only now at this point.
Yeah, and it is a name that people who were still buying phones 10 years ago would recognize. Yeah, however, I never did, but it's like, okay, you're putting out a phone with the Palm name on it that is just another Android phone. So what are you getting out of this other than the name recognition of Palm if it's just another Android phone? Because, something like this works one time and then it doesn't work again. So why shoot your load like this for just another, actually, it's not even an up-to-date Android phone. It's an older Android phone, not even running the latest operating system.
8.1 is, I guess, quote unquote latest because 9 just came out like the other day. So
okay, so that's right. So 9 would only be available for the Google's Pixel line.
The Pixel line, right?
Have you ever owned any of those?
I actually own a Pixel 2 XL. I just bought one not too long ago, and it actually is not bad, but
yeah,
it stays in my bag because iPhone's my baby. So. But yeah, I updated.
It's not like you do a podcast that has anything to do with iOS or anything.
I don't, not at all. But because I work in the IT support world, people are asking me about Android stuff all the time. So got to have an Android device to see what happens. So I just updated the software yesterday, the day before, and that wasn't bad. I mean, it's not. I mean, they're nice devices, but the Android ecosystem just doesn't do anything for me. It really doesn't.
Well, I mean, is there anything that makes Android 9 that much better than Android 8? Because I don't remember hearing anything about this in the tech press, so I'm sure there had to have been something. If
you go out to their site, there's been, I just updated it, so I haven't had a good chance to think about all the different things that it's doing now.
Which phone are you talking about? You have a Pixel 2?
Pixel 2 XL. Yep.
That's okay. And are those the only current phones? Because I mean, that's running pure Android, right?
That's Google. It's a pure Android. They're the first phones that are going to get the updates. The other phones aren't going to get updated probably for another year. Because if you look
at all,
right? Because the carriers have to do it. They have to come up with a special version of it. Because it was funny. There was
crap. Yeah.
We were talking about Android a little bit. It was funny. There's an article I was going to talk about that the adoption rate for Android is insane. I mean, the version 8 only had a 12% adoption rate. I mean, there's still versions from 3, 4, 5 years ago that are still being used today.
Well, if you look at I've seen some statistics on this, and if you look at like a pie chart of Android adoption, there are still phones that are pinging as being active that are running like 2.5.
2.5, which is, I believe, Jelly Bean or Gingerbread or one of those because it's on. There's a Mac Rumors article about this. Then you put the iOS next to it, and you have an 81% adoption rate for iOS 11. So
yeah,
I just don't get it. How can you keep a consistent device in the Android world when you have devices that are not using more than 12 to 20%, depending on what versions of their OS is out there?
Well, and it as bad as it is for users, and it is bad because they have to they buy the latest Samsung or God forbid a TCL or Huawei or whatever your particular favorite flavor of Android phone of the month is, and you have no real idea what you're getting, and you have no real idea if at all that the phone will be updated, and that includes security updates. That includes everything that's related to that operating system, because each one of the problem is you've got manufacturers that are putting crap on the phones to differentiate themselves from other manufacturers, and then you've got the carriers that are putting crap on the phone to differentiate themselves from the other carriers.
Right.
So, this is 2 layers of crap that you have to deal with before you can update the phone. And that includes security updates. So, and honestly, most of them, they don't want you to have the latest version of Android. They want you to go and buy a new phone.
I mean, Google does it. I mean, Google had the Nexus line before they went with the Pixel XL.
Well, that was a long time ago, though.
It was only 2 years, 3 years.
Okay.
I had a Nexus 7, I think it was. And no, I can't remember the model. Well, it was one of the Nexus, the more recent Nexus model. Motorola was the last Motorola Nexus phone that was made. And it was running 8.1. I mean, or 8, I think it was, no, I'm sorry, it was running 7. So, but why? I mean, the hardware's not that old. Why? I mean, look at what Apple does. I mean, Apple's updating the phones with iOS 11 all the way up to 5S. I mean,
yeah, 4 or 5 generations back.
Yeah. So
now you can't use all the latest features of it because the hardware won't support it. But you're still on the latest version of the operating system.
But also, Apple's also doing things with iOS 12. I mean, there was just a discussion today about the latest beta just came out. The beta 6 for the developers, beta 5 for public beta testers.
Which I am not using.
Oh no, I have test devices. I have a 6 and an SE that I install. All that on. No, I would never put it on my iPhone 10. I think I am Barry Folk. he puts every beta. He puts it on his watch too. I said no, I can't do that. Ready for prime time. But what they're saying is the 6S. 6S is a relatively old model, at least 2 years, maybe 3,
4 years,
almost 3 years now. It's running faster than it's ever run. People have been doing the beta tests, and they said it's running as fast as it's ever run. So Apple has really gone to bat with this new version of iOS. That it's going to be a much faster. It's going to be much faster than an iOS 11. I mean, they kept continuing to progress with the previous versions, going from iOS 10 to iOS 11, and then 12 will be out soon. And that they're still, these older devices are out performing better. When you went beyond 10, before 10, like 9 and 8, yeah, I remember all those times that people were complaining, "Oh, my device is so slow. What did you do?" But Apple is getting smart with the OS, and to allow for devices that are 3 and 4 and 5 years old that still work. It's pretty impressive.
Well, it's the advantage that they have being not only the manufacturer of the phones, but the maker of the operating system as well. Exactly. Real quick, I want to say hi to Michael Lacey. You know who you are, Mike. You know what you did at the summer of. No, it was September 9th, 1978, my 18th birthday. All I got to say is power boot. You know what that means. Also, my cousin Joyce Rogers just jumped in. Hey, Joyce, I am so happy to see you. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to see you while I was in Chicago. I wish I could have, but honestly, and Dave, you can attest to this, it was every single night of Macstock was just crazy. There was so much going on. Anybody over in the Mac to the Future group that's talking and yakking?
Didn't see anything.
I don't see. Well, I know David Avery is with us. Brian Etzminger is there. I mean, we have a couple people there. We got not as many as I would like, but we still have some people there. So yay! I really appreciate the fact that anyone who is coming to watch is there and watching, because that's just the fun thing to do. I think we are going to take a little break, and when we come back, we have 2 more things to talk about, Dave.
Right. I can't wait.
Well, yeah, so everybody stand by, and we will be right back. This is Private Eye Macintosh, and I'm here to tell you about a book written about me and my search for the Maltese Cube. Yes, it's a fine book. I think you should get it. Quiet, you. It combines technology, Mac trivia, action, murder, suspense. Oh, just tell them where to get it. I'll get to that. Romance,
film noir detective fiction. I can't stand it anymore. It's called The Maltese Cube, and it was written by my Mac writer and podcaster Guy Searle. Find it on Amazon. It's only $2.99 and coming soon to the Apple's iBook store. Don't forget, it's The Maltese Cube and so inexpensive. You know you're not in it, right? I'm in the next one, right? Sure thing, Louis. You know, this could be the start of a beautiful friendship. Get The Maltese Cube on Amazon and soon in the iBook store.
Okay, we are back. Now, this next story, I don't really know how I feel about this. I'm not a fan of Alex Jones or Infowars, but I'm also not a fan of censorship. And well, let's tell you what. Let's just get into it. Apple removes the Infowars podcast, just the podcast, from the iTunes store, following calls by many to ban the controversial Alex Jones from various social media and content delivery systems. Apple has removed the podcast from the iTunes store, with Facebook, YouTube, and a few other sites then, after Apple did it, doing the same not long after. Now, the weird part of this story is the Infowars iOS app is still available. So, in essence, all they would have to do would be to change the links to their podcast, and people could still get it through the Infowars iOS app. So it's not like it's gone away. It's still there.
I mean, obviously, losing iTunes isn't exactly a good thing when it comes to a podcast. But I'm sure he has an RSS feed. I've never listened to the show, nor do I have any interest in it. But yeah, I agree with you. It's just censorship is not a thing for me either. I mean, why? I mean, everybody has a right to say what they want in this country.
Yeah,
and that just isn't crazy. But it also mentions in the story that Facebook, YouTube were also pulling their content out. Google. But Twitter is not. I don't know if you were aware of that.
Yeah,
Twitter,
I had heard that. But you can't really, I don't think you can post or host.
You could post links.
You can post links, but I mean, you still have to have that content someplace else.
Yeah, I mean, my podcast, I post a link on the Twitter
Sure.
and right to wherever my RSS feed is. They're still going to continue to have an RSS feed, though the only thing they aren't going to have is an iTunes feed. So
yeah. So wherever it is that they're hosting, well, the RSS feed is the same, really, whether it's in iTunes or in whatever your podcatcher of choice is. It's the same. It's the same RSS feed.
Just they won't have the advertising on iTunes.
Right. You won't be able to go to iTunes and download the Infowars podcast from iTunes. So you'll have to find some other way to do it. Now, having said all this, one of the things that people seem to be upset about is they seem to feel that this is a First Amendment issue. Now, people who feel that way should note that these platforms are under the direct control of the owners of the platforms, and they aren't under any requirement or obligation to allow any content that the owners of those platforms deem inappropriate. Now, in my opinion, banning content owners should be a last resort only, though I have to say that Alex Jones does himself no favors with obvious conspiracy theory nonsense and deliberate attempts to engage those affected by personal tragedies related to controversial issues for his own gain. In particular, what was it? That asshole that that the individual that did the attack on the children's daycare center in Connecticut, Newbury. No, that wasn't it.
What was the name of that school? I forgot.
Oh, and I should have been prepared for that, but I'm obviously not. But everybody knows what we're talking about. And basically, Jones was saying that it was a fake attack and that these children didn't really exist. And I'm sorry, if you're going to take a personal tragedy like this and exploit that for your own gain, that makes you pretty scummy in my book. I would not recommend Alex Jones or Infowars just based on these few examples. And I mean, there's enough people who are walking around with tinfoil hats on top of their head, with various conspiracy theorists or various conspiracy theories related to God, moon landing and flat Earth and 9/11 and all this other stuff, that we don't need somebody else kind of fanning the flames for it. But at the same time, if I had been Tim Cook, I would not have removed the podcast. I don't think that Apple or YouTube or Facebook or really any of these other social media platforms, I don't think that they should be in the business of censorship. I certainly don't have a problem with them labeling content like this as controversial and potentially, putting age restrictions or however you want to put it to let people know that the platform owners don't agree with the content that's being delivered by whichever individuals are putting out content that is controversial. But to actually just remove it, I think sends the wrong message.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, but that's basically how I feel on that. I'm not a fan of censorship in any way, shape, or form. In the comments section, let's see. Michael Lacey reminded me about Power Boot. My cousin Joyce says I have no idea what I'm talking about. Wouldn't be the first time. Let's see. Michael Lacey is LOL Alex Jones. Okay. That's about all we got on that. If you don't have to agree with me about Alex Jones. I would hope that anyone watching this would agree that censorship is bad and is not the way that that things should go. And you know what? We should probably just move on. What do you think?
Yeah.
All right.
Too much politics.
Yeah, not a fan. I am not a fan of politics. The last thing I wanted to talk about tonight, unless you got anything else, in the EU, in the European Union, there is some talk of trying to force Apple to use a USB connection of some type versus their own Lightning connector, which of course is proprietary to Apple. This is the EU trying to, I guess, force some kind of uniformity amongst the various makers, so that if you have and here's, in my mind, here's the hypocrisy of this. There are Android phones that use micro USB. There are Android phones that use mini USB. There are, phones that are using all different types of USB connectors, except for, of course, USB A, or God forbid. Could you imagine having a phone that has the USB B connector on it? And for people who don't know what the USB B connector is, that's the one that you see on the back of printers and mixers and microphones and all these other things. Whereas the USB A is the standard kind of flat, rectangular sized USB connector. But yeah, you got a phone where the connector, the USB B connector, is actually thicker than the phone itself, because that's what everybody wants. It's a super thick USB connector.
The new Androids are using USB-C.
Okay, well, see, now that, to me, that actually kind of makes sense. If Apple was going to replace the Lightning connector, now the Lightning connector first came out with, I believe, the iPhone, was it the iPhone 4 or 5?
Was Yeah, but think about it. Yeah, back in the day when they had the 30-pin connector and everybody was an up because all the phones out there with the 30-pin connector. But they got over it.
Well, and all of the accessories that use the 30-pin connector.
So what they do? Apple they made adapters.
Yeah.
So there was 30-pin to Lightning adapter. So I mean, get over it. But right now, this is purely rumor. Apple has confirmed that this was ever going to happen. Should it be USB-C or Thunderbolt 3? Hard to say, because that is a standard connector, and you don't see a standard type connector like that until now, recently, like with what the Pixel 2 XL went with.
And I think this is the first USB connector that, much like the Lightning connector, it doesn't matter which way you plug it in. You can plug it in upwards, downwards, backwards, forwards, however it is that you want to put it in, as long as the actual physical connector matches up with the physical size of the port, it'll plug in and it'll work. Yeah. So USB-C / Thunderbolt 3, that my only problem with all of that is, why did they decide to use the same connector for both Thunderbolt and USB-C?
Confusing.
It is. At the same time, at least on Apple computers, there's a uniformity in that you can plug in a USB-C device or a Thunderbolt 3 device, and the computer will see it with no problem. But as far as confusion over what is what, and there's huge differences between these two connectors as far as throughput goes. Thunderbolt 3 is like, what, 80 is it GIPs or MIPS that it passes through? It's a lot. It's a huge amount of bandwidth that Thunderbolt 3 has. It's like more bandwidth than I think any connector in the history of computing has ever allowed through a single connection. And then you've got USB-C, which is the fastest USB connector that's ever been out there, but it's nowhere close to what Thunderbolt 3 does.
No.
But they both look exactly the same. They just don't work the same. And I think that leads to a lot of confusion. But as far as having that on a phone, it wouldn't bother me if we lost the Lightning connector from Apple phones. And I think at this point, how much longer will it be before we don't have any connectors on the phone at all?
It's true, because everything, the Qi charging is an example. That's become the revolutionary as far as charging goes. I'm so used to plugging in my phone. I have I have a Lightning connector at my bedside to plug my phone in at night. So I worry if I had the Qi charger sitting next to my next to my bed, it might slip off and then it stops charging, and then crap, I have the whole day I don't have my battery charged. So I like the cables, but there are. In fact, I just thought of something that Logitech just actually released today. They have a Qi charger that actually is in a U shape that the phone just pops in, and it's actually charging it. But it's not laying flat like a lot of these Qi chargers are now. So, but if they come up with stuff like that, you're right. I mean, what's the need for a cable? The only other contention would be is if the phone ever has to be hooked up, to your computer directly. Is it going to be wireless? Can they do that? How could the data transfer occur if you have to ever hook it directly?
Well, you couldn't.
Right.
But Wi-Fi speeds and the potential for whatever it is that they're going to call the fifth generation for carrier connectivity to phones and all the rest of that. What are they calling that now?
5G.
Yeah, and the thing is, there and for people talking about 5G, there is no 5G. There is no standard right now for 5G. nobody has any idea what it's going to be. This is the same crap that we had to deal with 3G, where you had, I think, 3 different companies that were saying, well, we're 3G. Oh, wait, no, we're 3G. But hold on a second. That guy over there says he's 3G. And they were all incompatible with one another. Same thing happened with 4G. And so now it's like, oh, here comes 5G, and it's going to be so great, and it's fast. And how does it work? We don't really know yet, but it's coming, and get ready. So, I don't really, the fact that these companies are allowed to talk about something like 5G, or even, and you run into the same thing with Wi-Fi standards. Think back to when wireless N and wireless AC for Wi-Fi was being talked about. When they first started talking about it, and I don't think wireless AC has even been accepted yet as a standard. I think is it now a standard? Mm-hmm. It's been accepted by, I can't think of the name of the governing body, but for a long time, when N came out, it was like years.
It was pre-N, or it was...
Yeah, but I mean, everybody was using it. And even once the N standard was adopted, if you had a device that was running on N, based on something you bought a year previous, it was like, oh, okay, it's N. It's fine. It works just the way an N device is supposed to work. So they did like an end around.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
That's
on the fly. You guys can't. You guys are paying for this, so you just got to deal.
Talking about the 5G, John Legere, the CEO of T-Mobile, when did the big announcement that Sprint and T-Mobile were going to merge, which who knows if that's ever going to happen, but it's possible.
Well, if U.S. Congress doesn't stop it, it sounds like the EU is going to have issues with it.
We'll see where that goes, but he's talking about a Sprint T-Mobile merger would make sure that they can accelerate the development of 5G networks and all this stuff. AT&T is saying they're already working on a 5G network, so it's the same song and dance that we hear from all these carriers.
It's marketing. Ooh, I almost said another bad word. Marketing BS. You can fill the BS initials with whatever you want. Until somebody can come out with a hardware standard for 5G and have all the other carriers that are all going to be going up to all of their towers and putting up transceivers on these towers to say, okay, well, this is a 5G transceiver. It's not real. And the promise of 5G is actually kind of amazing. It's actually going to be faster, but at a lower frequency, so that, I mean, there's a trade-off with everything. If you want speed, you pretty much have to go to a lower frequency. If you want it to penetrate through walls or go for greater distance, then you have to go with like a higher frequency. So, it's like, okay, well, there's got to be something in the middle here that will give us these great speeds, but yet still be able to blanket an entire area without having to have microcells everywhere. And so far, nobody's been able to really come up with that. But the promise of 5G is, and it probably has some cable companies kind of shaking in their boots, because if 5G ends up being anywhere near as fast as what they're talking about, then you won't really need to have a cable company anymore. And your cable company can be, you cut the cord and you're getting all of your data from whoever your carrier is, depending on how much bandwidth you've contracted for per month.
That's why you have cable companies like Comcast, Xfinity. Hey, all of a sudden they have mobile services they're selling.
What?
Xfinity Mobile. What? Guess what? They piggyback onto Verizon.
Of course they do.
It's the same stuff.
It's the same song and dance.
Yeah.
So, I think that, unless, do you have anything else there?
No. No. I think we're a good spot here. We could wrap it up.
Okay, that is going to about do it for the evening. Thank you all for watching. Dave, I'm going to put up some links here. If you would like to see more of what Dave Ginsburg does, as a matter of fact, in about 15 minutes, he's going to be recording with Melissa Davis to do the In Touch with iOS podcast that you can find on iTunes, in the iTunes I'm 58 years old, so now I can say in the iTunes and get off my lawn and all these other things. He also does the Off the Charts horse racing podcast. You can find them both in iTunes. Who do you do that one with?
I do it with my friend Steve Duckhorn. He's been a good friend of mine for about 20 or 30 years. So we're having a lot of fun doing that.
And you're going to be spending some time with him out in Vegas, aren't you? Isn't he going to be out there?
Yeah, he'll be out there with me, and we'll do the podcast live from Las Vegas.
Live from Las Vegas. Are you going to live stream it or?
Oh no, we'll record it because we'll do it early in the morning on a Friday, and
you just put it out there.
Pacific time. It'll probably be about 6 or 7 in the morning when we're recording. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and yeah, I appreciate giving me the plugs and.
Not a problem.
I'll put on your show too because this is a lot of.
It is. Well, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you and send you email based on what they've seen from this show, and I offer absolutely no guarantees or apologies or anything along those lines, how would they do so?
Yeah, they could reach me on the Twitters at DaveG65. That'd probably be the easiest way to do it. I'll respond to anything that you guys are asking about.
And if you'd like to get a hold of me, you can reach me via my email address, which is guy@mttfgo.com. You can also find me on the Twitters. My handle there, as it has been for so many years, is Mac Parrot. And of course, you can also find me 3, sometimes 4 times a week on Guy's Daily Drive over there on the YouTubes. And I basically, once I'm done editing it, I make an audio version of that, which I put out on iTunes. So if you look up Guy's Daily Drive in the iTunes, you will find it there and find my little 10 to 15 minute snippets of insanity that I put out. If you'd like to support some of the stuff that I do, you can either send me a cup of coffee, costs you $3, over at ko-fi.com, ko-fi.com. Look me up, Guy Searle or Mac Parrot. You can also become a regular sponsor by going to patreon.com and also looking up Guy Searle or Mac Parrot. I would really, really appreciate all that. And I think that is going to about do it for this evening, Dave.
Yes.
So thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
No problem. One more place I'll mention. I'm going to be this weekend at the Apple Store down in the Michigan Avenue. Anybody happens to be out there?
Did you just say the Michigan Avenue?
Michigan Avenue flagship store. Right out the
Wait, is that the one that's had all the glass problems?
It only had
dead birds?
Some birds hit the glass, but they fixed that.
Oh, okay, well, that's good.
Mike Potter and I are also going to record for Mac Eyes Only live from the Michigan Avenue. And I will also be doing an episode with him on In Touch with iOS. We'll do like reciprocating podcasts.
Excellent. So, and that's Mike Potter, right?
Mike Potter for Mac Eyes Only, of course.
For Mac Eyes Only, yeah.
Our leader for Mac Stock as well. So,
we forgot to mention
that. Let me tell you.
Go ahead.
For those of you who did not make it to Mac Stock, Mike was kind enough to put together, very last minute, by the way, a website that allows you to be able to purchase a digital pass to be able to listen to and watch all the 20-minute sessions that were done, as well as all the deeper dives. He's already started uploading the videos now. It's cheap for all the content you're going to get for all
ridiculously cheap.
I mean, $79. That's all you got to pay. If you go to macstock2018.com, and I believe it's /digital-pass. But if you just go to macstock2018.com, there is a link there for the digital pass. Purchase a pass. He would love it, and I would love it. And my content's up there. I did my 20-minute session on the Apple Watch and the iPhone and iPad. Can you be productive using it? And my deeper dive will be up pretty soon. He found his Apple Watch, so
I did.
Apple Watch, and everybody said that they learned something. So you can learn something again. You may even see Guy on there with the My Mac quiz.
Yeah, the My Mac game show quiz.
So
with Robo Larry.
I hope the video. I haven't seen that video yet. He's still uploading.
I don't know if they were rolling on that when they first brought Robo Larry out, and he like turned toward the audience and started heading for the end of the stage, and almost fell off the edge of the stage, and the whole audience was like, "No, go back, Robo Larry, go back!"
I was so cracking up with that. Oh, that would have been a long dive. So, but yeah, support Mac Stock. We would love to
come there next year. You know,
we'll
be talking. Yeah, Dave and I and Tim and so many people will be talking about when. Of course, we're like still a year out. It's going to be the last weekend of July. Here I am. I'm already talking about it. Last weekend of July of 2019. So keep an eye open for that. And if you guys haven't been to Macstock, you're really missing out on a great show. And I guess that's pretty much all we should say about it, because you got about 10 more minutes before you got to get with Melissa. All right, so thank you all for watching, and I will see you next week. Hopefully Warren will be back by then. If not, I'm sure I'll be able to coerce Dave into coming back again. Poor Dave.
I'm going to be a roaming fill-in host.
So we'll see you all later. Have a great night.
Bye.
Okay, the only reason why we're doing this little bit here is to make sure that Facebook gets enough ending video so it doesn't cut it off. That's it. So I'm going to hit the stop show button now. But I may be back. I'll fire up iTunes and I will do the usual kind of crazy stuff I sometimes do where I sing along with stuff in iTunes. That actually may be more popular than this show, Dave. How weird is that?
That is weird.
And nobody gets to see it except live because I'm using regular music. So, Facebook is like, well, we can't let people hear that. Even though it's me singing over it. It's like, yeah, because that's what people want in their iTunes collection is Guy Searle singing over a Van Halen song.
Jump!
Yeah. Might as well jump! Jump! Dun, 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 dun. All right.